All right, today we are diving into a really fascinating and totally fictional story of regime change from the blog Barack Face. It's this wild tale about how a major power unravels not because of some foreign invasion, but from the inside out, all thanks to spreadsheets, memes, and a whole lot of irony.
Okay, so this quote really sets the stage for the whole thing. The story kicks off not with a bang, but with, believe it or not, a spreadsheet. The core idea here is that this wasn't your classic old-school revolution. It was more like this mass realization that the entire enterprise was just bankrupt, both financially and, ideologically. So, what was the spark in this fictional account? Well, it all started with the economy just going into a complete freefall. The blog calls it a doom loop, where years of mismanagement finally hit a wall. And the trigger wasn't some grand political idea. It was the price of bread. The story actually pinpoints the exact moment the whole thing ignited. December 28, 2025. On that day, the Iranian rial just cratered, trading at over 1.4 million to a single US dollar. I mean, can you even imagine? That number represents the complete and total evaporation of people's money pretty much overnight.
So that currency collapse, it led to this staggering official inflation rate of 42.2%. Just think about that. Your life savings, poof, gone. Basic things you need to live, suddenly you can't afford them. The blog paints this picture where just surviving becomes this daily, all-consuming struggle. And that turns economic worry into pure white-hot fury.
And this is the moment where all that economic pain becomes a huge political statement. See, Tehran's Grand Bazaar isn't just a market. It's like a political barometer for the country. When its doors slam shut in protest, it sends a message that there's a deep, systemic crisis that the regime just can't ignore anymore. The protests really mixed the big political ideas with these super practical demands. It shows you how the very act of survival had become an act of defiance. This chant, as imagined by the blog, just perfectly captures that vibe. You've got these massive political demands right alongside the urgent need for, well, affordable food. So that economic crisis quickly snowballs into what the blog calls the Great Iranian Rat Race. This is where the pillars holding up the regime start to crumble, from the inside. This wasn't a fight to the death, it was a mad dash for the exits. The narrative lays out this really interesting sequential collapse. It starts with the people at the very top, the ones who knew the financial numbers were a complete fantasy. It's like watching a building get deconstructed, floor by floor, from the penthouse suite all the way down to the security desk in the lobby. The first ones to bail were the elites. Their sudden retirements and those carefully curated photos from fancy vacation spots were the ultimate signal that the ship was sinking. According to this story, the regime's legitimacy was bleeding out to first-class airport lounges long before the first real stone was ever thrown. And this quote, it just brilliantly captures the dark humor of this whole narrative. Even the military leadership just completely checked out. The story suggests that, hey, loyalty has a price, and when the paychecks stopped coming, so did the will to defend anything. A general trading his uniform for a kebab stand. That's the ultimate symbol of a completely hollowed-out military.
So while the old guard was packing their bags and leaving, the younger generation was fighting a totally different kind of war. And this is where the story pivots from economics to the truly absurd 21st century battleground, the internet.
In what the story portrays as this final, desperate move, the supreme leader issues a fatwa. But not against a rival nation or a political enemy. No, it's against a TikTok user named @PersianPrankster420. And his crime? Making fun of the Ayatollah's beard in a viral dance video. This is presented as the moment the regime just completely lost the plot.
So instead of inspiring fear, the fatwa was met with total global ridicule. It turned a serious state threat into an absolute meme. The TikToker's response went viral, of course, and the regime's last-ditch effort to project power just became its biggest punchline. In this story, laughter literally became the ultimate weapon.
And then it just gets even weirder, escalating into this cross-continental meme war. You've got Gen Z from Nepal and Iran just trading digital blows. The narrative uses this completely absurd side story to show how global and interconnected everything had become, turning a national revolution into a topic for online banter across the world.
And in this perfect storm of irony, the symbolic heat of the online world turns into actual, literal flames on the ground. A bonfire of old regime posters, which was meant to be a symbolic thing, got a little out of hand. It's the perfect example of how even a digital revolution can have very real and apparently very flammable consequences.
Okay, so after the fictional regime collapses, the story takes one final, super cynical turn, all the way to Washington, D.C. The revolution on the ground might be over, but the battle over who gets to write the history books, that was just getting started.
The blog portrays President Trump immediately trying to claim ownership of an event he had, absolutely nothing to do with. It's a satirical look at how political victories get manufactured, basically suggesting that if you can't make history, you can at least try to market it.
So, a White House task force was supposedly created to retroactively justify how Trump's, let's call them vibes, caused the revolution. The blog lists these completely absurd points to satirize the whole process of creating a political narrative, where you just twist any random thing into proof for your own political gain. And the narrative wraps up with the successful branding of the revolution. The agency of the actual participants, the millions of Iranians, is completely erased. In this fictional telling, the story of their struggle gets repackaged as a testament to one man's influence from thousands of miles away.
And that leaves us with this final, really provocative question about how history gets written, and maybe more importantly, who gets to hold the pen. Ultimately, the Barack Face blog uses this whole satirical tale to make a few really sharp points. That modern states can be as fragile as a startup, that a meme can be as powerful as a missile, and that the first draft of history is often just a really well-spun press release.